Susan Brooks with stampingintheopenblogspot.com, and I am going to do a tutorial on a napkin fold card. What you'll need is a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock in any color. I am using a paper pack of ours, and the color is Sunset, and the paper pack is called Lucky. And it looks like this. Has some really nice bright colors, male colors. So I'm starting out with the 12 by 12 piece. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to be scoring. And so how we're going to score is with the arm extended. First of all, we're going to start by scoring at 3 inches using the scoring blade. Pull that down. And I'm just going to do a quarter turn, another 3-inch score, another quarter turn. What I'm doing is I'm making sure that I have both the top and the bottom along the 3-inch line as I'm turning. And finally the last 3-inch score. So hopefully you can see that I have score lines here on each side. Okay? So the next thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to mark on each side, just a tiny little mark, and you can either do this with a pen or with an actual score mark, your preference. And you're just, again, going to do a quarter turn, and I'm marking at 6 inches. So again, you can either do it with your scoring blade, and I'm going to move that out of the way, and I'm going to do this with a pen so that you can hopefully see this a little bit better. I'm basically marking in the well where normally you would be running your blade. Okay. Once I have that done, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a score line between those 2 points. Hopefully you can see this here. I'm lining up one point that I marked and the other point that I marked within the well on my whiskers. That should end up going right through the corner that I scored here on the corner box, and it did. If I'm fairly accurate in my measurements, that should work every time. Right, so again, I'm going to line up my center points and run my scoring blade through. And again, you're just going to keep doing quarter turns until you've done this set of scoring. So now, I can set it aside my whiskers, cutter, scoring, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold in each side, and then the top and the bottom. Because now everything's nice and scored, I'm just making sure these are nice crisp folds now. Alright, then the next thing we want to do is we want to turn it over, and we're going to bring the points down to the center, like that. And at this point, if we're not exactly on, we want to try to make sure that we get these fairly close, because this will affect our final product as far as the folds. So I'm just kind of easing these in a little bit. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but we want it fairly close. And then what we're going to do for the napkin fold is you'll see I'm pulling this up and this end in, and we're creating boxes, squares on the top. And it pretty much falls into where it needs to be. You might need to help it just a little bit. And this is our napkin fold portion of the card. so when it pops open, you have an area here in the middle where that you can put your greeting for the person, and you end up with a completed 6x6 card, if you notice. Put it right here down where I have measurements, and it ends up being a 6x6 card. So now I've got the folding part, it's the most difficult part, I promise, completed, and we're going to put pattern paper on the triangles of this card, both on the inside and out. So I'm now going to replace my scoring blade with the cutting blade, and I've already pre-cut some items. First, what you want to do is you're going to want to use different background and texture papers. I've again used from the Lucky set several different papers, and you want to use 4 different background and texture papers, and start out with 5.5 by 5.5 inch squares. So I've already pre-cut several of them, but I'm going to show you how we're going to cut these down. What you want to do for your large triangles is you want to line up corner to corner and make a diagonal cut, just like that. Then what you want to do with one of these halves is take and line up the top part of the triangle and make sure that you're up nice and against this ledge, and that your triangle is centered in your groove, and make another cut. Okay, so see how we've gone from a square to 2 smaller triangles, and now we're going to make it 4 smaller triangles. And that is how you get your large triangles for your card. So we need 2 sets of large triangles. And here I've already done a second pattern, and I've pre-cut 2 of them. And again, I'm going to show you, we line up the straight edge and our point. And now I have 8 triangles for the front and back of my card. So there's 4, and there's another 4. Alright, and again, those are going to end up being placed in the large triangle area, both on the front and on the back. Now for the smaller triangles, you do the exact same process. You start out with a 5.5 by 5.5. You cut it down again to the large triangle, but then you take that large triangle and we're going to cut it down one more time using the same process. Again, the flat side up to the top, the point in the well, and now you have 2 more pieces. And you're going to end up getting 8 small triangles out of 1 square. And let me show you where those will go. On your completed project, you will have your triangles going into each one of these areas. So you need to do that for 2 pieces of paper to get 16 in total. Then what I did for the center of the card is I cut a 5.5 by 5.5 square, and then I cut a 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 square, and I chose this bingo paper because it will bring out the orange in the center. And then I just cut a little 3.5 by 3.5 colonial white square to give me an area to stamp. Now the belly band is cut. This is a 3-inch by 12-inch strip. And then we're going to want to score at 2 7/8 inch at 3 inch. That gives us an itty bit to go around the bulk of this card. And we're going to score at 9 inches and 9 1/8 inch. So again, you need to change out your scoring blade, your cutting blade for your scoring blade. Pop out your side. Again, that's these measurements that I'm cutting. 2 7/8 inch I'm going to score. At 3 inches I'm going to score. Gives me just a small bit there. Then I'm going to go over to 9 inches. And then I'm going to move it over to 9 1/8 inch. When I fold these, what happens is I get this nice little 1/8 inch kind of seam that's going to be popped up, and that will nicely go over my folded cards fold without it seeming like it's strained. Okay. And then what we're going to do on the belly band, change this out, is then we're going to have at least 2 mats, and you can have more. The largest mat, being this blue one, is 3 inches by 4.5 inches. My medium mat, which can either be cardstock or B&T, is going to be 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. And then my small one, which I can then stamp a picture on, is 2 3/8 by 3 7/8. And the reason I want to do that is so that I have space between mats where I can put ribbon, because we want to tie this with ribbon on the side.